This is not a bad idea, okay? Let's look at all this free production and you smell that?
Yeah.
Hon, what did it smell like to you?
I think it's probably dead rodents under the baseboards.
Smells like money, bro.
Thank you, Paul. Why
Money.
is it Paul that's always on my side?
We're not gonna have time. This is... Fine.
I have no doubt we can get this up and running by Halloween.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
And as you know, the season that we live for has come to a close. Halloween
No, it has
was
not.
last week. Okay. Let me finish my intro. Oh my God.
No, it has not. Don't you say that, Monica.
The Halloween season has come to
The
a close, but not the
Halloween-
spooky season.
No one lets me finish over here. But I was going to say, it's come to a close for fucking normies. But we all know that that's not us and that's not the people who listen to our podcast. We love this shit all year round. And also, we're recording this on November 2nd. Sorry, spoiler. We don't record the day that the episode comes out. And so I feel like it's Halloween definitely right now this second. So we decided to keep it going, keep the exact Halloween vibes flowing. This is a special one for me because I didn't get to go to a spooky haunted house this year, and I feel very, very sad. So to compensate for that, we are doing Hell House LLC.
LLC.
You know how even when Halloween ends, there's still like the post-Halloween like cleanup and aftermath? That's
We're
the
in the
theme of this
afterglow.
episode.
We're in
Yeah.
afterglow right now. Yeah, for
We're
sure.
laying there waiting for Halloween to bring us the towel.
Exactly. That is thank you. That's exactly the vibe that I'm going for here.
Haunting horrible. Sweet in a way.
Very sweet. It's very loving.
Considerate,
They're
I
taking
guess.
care of us. They're taking care of us. Halloween is a passionate lover.
And this movie will fuck you.
Yes.
Ew, you guys.
It'll fuck you right up. I'm
It
sorry.
will.
This is a very special intro and I'm really enjoying it. Sorry that you hate it, Chelsea.
Yeah. We're having a great time. Sorry that you hate it.
I'm having a great time. But yeah, Sydney put this movie on my radar earlier this summer, I think that's when it was. So we watched it then. It's a found footage movie, and you know how I fucking
know
love
how Monica feels about
those.
found footage.
Yeah. I was pre-gaming this movie by watching all the VHS movies that are on
Yeah, I was
Shudder.
like, you've been on a kick lately.
Oh, you know me. When I watch found footage movies, I watch like 5 in a row. They cannot just
stop
be
watching.
Yeah,
one.
compared to the
It
other
cannot
works
just
in
be
the
one.
medium. Yeah.
Exactly.
How are you going
this
to talk
is-
about a genre film if you're not familiar with the genre?
Exactly. Well, this is really a standout for me, this movie in general, compared to other found footage movies, because like Blair Witch did it the best, and then people have been trying to recapture that high. This one did a pretty good job. But before we get too far, let me just read the summary from IMDb. It's a little bit of a long one, so buckle up. 5 years after an unexplained malfunction caused the death of 15 tour-goers and staff on the opening night of a Halloween haunted house tour, a documentary crew travels back to the scene of the tragedy to find out what really happened. Do. It's good. It's a run-on sentence, but I like it.
There's a lot more
improper grammar.
information in there than you're getting in the movie itself, which is interesting.
You do get the information that it's 15 people, but you have to pause the article that they put on the screen about it, and then you have to read where it says 15 people died. That's what I did today. And I was like, haha, I have a special fact that no one would have noticed. And then it's in the
And then it's in
IMDb
IMDb.
summary, so that was a little disappointing right now.
I also very possibly just missed it, but I wasn't sure like how much later this was being filmed, because like I knew the movie came out in 2015 and the tragedy that the mockumentary was investigating was in 2009, but I wasn't sure like when the movie itself took place. And it's only now that you read that I'm like, okay, for sure it was 5 years later and not like 6 months down the road.
Yeah, it's a five-year anniversary, which makes some of the characters who show up makes it all the more strange. Where have they been for all this time? But yeah, I really like the mockumentary like style. It kind of annoys me that like 90% of, not 90%, a lot of found footage movies try to do this. A lot of them try to do the documentary style, and it can be frustrating because it's not like, you know, like Blair Witch where like you're in medias res, like you're experiencing it with the people, which is what I really love about found footage. But I think this one did a really good job of giving me that and giving me the documentary style. And I liked the little documentarians.
It's hard for me to say too much about that aspect without like spoiling the whole thing already, but so I might hold off on that actually, and I'll just let Sydney talk right now.
I want to know, like, I know we film each other like doing like weird little stuff all the time, but like with the found footage and like if I know that they're like doing it because, but just like who is filming constantly?
Yeah,
YouTubers.
Yeah, but like
YouTubers for sure.
They're doing a vlog. They're doing a
And
vlog.
like
For
they
their
talk
website.
about
They
it-
say it. They're doing it for their website.
They say it a little in the
Ew.
movie where they're like part of it is for social content or whatever. They don't say that because it's 2009 at the time that they're talking, so the social aspect is like less.
they're doing it for
It exists,
Facebook.
but it's like less. Yeah, they're doing it for MySpace. But they're saying also like we review the footage for like next year's Halloween and haunted house. So like they're documenting it not just for their own purposes of like documenting everything that's going on, but presumably so they can be like, okay, let's not rewrite history later on when we go, oh, Queens was so terrible, blah blah blah. Like they can go back and be like, okay, we didn't get this together until the 10th day, and like here's how we problem solved this, presumably, is like the way they're presenting that as the in universe explanation, which I'm willing to buy
I guess
for the
that
most
makes
part.
sense.
And it's also the thing of like, remember in Cloverfield how they had that guy whose name I forget, and we also don't need to say it. But that guy who sucks. Yeah, and it was like he's filming everything because his character is obnoxious. And so like it makes sense that his character is just going around with the camera on constantly being like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing here where Paul, who's the primary filmmaker of the Hell House LLC group, is just kind of like a dick and he's just always rolling.
I do kind of wish we did have that one friend, because every once in a while at the end of the year when I'm like, oh, there's not enough adorable videos of me doing adorable things.
You would hate all of the videos of you. Let's be
I
honest.
would hate all
you
of them,
not
but
like
I would,
any of
here's the
them.
thing, I would still like to see them. But would I
want
post
to
them?
have
No.
them for 40 years from now.
Yeah, I want to have them for so when I die, someone can post them and be like, "Oh my god, look at that quirky thing Monica did." You know what I mean?
No, that's only for my thirst traps. I only want like a reel of all of my like ass shots playing at my like through the years, you know?
That is the
Sure,
most
yeah.
Sydney thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, no, it's interesting you bring that up because the buy-in for found footage is so important. It has to be believable. Like I'm willing to forgive a lot. Chelsea is willing to forgive very little. Sydney somewhere in between.
I'm somewhere in between. It depends on the plot.
It depends how much fun I'm having.
Exactly. But
Chelsea,
I don't
like,
know. For
fully
me,
in on 47 meters down
like,
uncaged. She
well,
believes that.
yeah, that's realism.
that
but
is
like this where the storytelling is like so wrapped up in the medium of it, like 47 meters down uncaged, it's like, why are we seeing this? Yeah, because that's what they're showing you. Nobody's filming, you know what I mean? But when it's very deliberately like, this is footage that someone shot and compiled, I think you just have like a higher barrier for entry when it comes to, why am I seeing this? Why was it recorded? Who put it together? Blair Witch, I think, did a really good job of, from the beginning, being like, we found these tapes basically, and we have no other explanation to give you other than to play the footage for you. And so that works really well, because at the end you don't have to be like, okay, so how did you get this specific bit when you already told me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get into the specifics of this one too much, but when it's so ingrained in the storytelling aspects, I just think it's sometimes you have to do a little more work as the storyteller to make it make
Yeah.
sense or to legitimize it.
Yeah, like I've watched so many of the VHS movies now, and some of them are frustrating because you're just like, why the fuck would you be filming that? Why would you think to film that? But I think it's like the VHS movies, it's also different too because they're from the like VHS era, the home video era, and people fucking did bring their fucking video
People were
cameras
so
around.
excited
They
to
were
have the
so
cameras.
excited.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they were filming stuff all the time. So that's a buy-in that I'm willing to believe just right off the bat. Like back in the day, people were filming shit all the time for sure. And then also now is a lot easier to do a buy-in for this too. Like one I saw recently that I really am trying to get us to do eventually. Got to put some space between it and Hell House. But Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, that one was really, really great because it is a troupe of like YouTubers or live streamers who are like going into a haunted asylum. Oh, that's
That
the name.
makes sense. That's true. Why they're
Yeah,
filming
and they
everything.
have
The
like
title?
the head cams on, and they have
Yeah.
another camera on. So there's all these different perspectives, and it's being live streamed, so it's like you're watching the live stream and whatever. So that's easy to buy into. In the current media era, you know, people are
It's all
recording
about the content, baby.
even more all the freaking time. Like, how often do I go to the cool Gen Z thrift fair across the street from my house, and there's just a person following a well-dressed person around, and they're interviewing people, and it's just like literally constantly everyone is being filmed. So I don't know. I also think though, for people like this, like, yeah, Paul is definitely a mimic of the Cloverfield guy, who shall not be named. They even look like
Look, the curly hair.
yeah. But we like Gore Abrams a lot better. That's his name. Gore
Great name.
Abrams. Gore. Love that. Anyway, but I feel like with these guys too, like there's another buy-in. The other buy-in is that the people who are in the movie think that what they're doing is so important that it needs to be documented at all times. And so hello. And so
Just like this moment needed to be
like this moment needed to be
Honestly,
documented. You're gonna
that
be on
scared
the
me a
YouTube
little
now,
bit.
just so
I
you
know.
Adam.
Now everything's on camera. Now that
Every
Monica wants to do all
moment.
the videos on YouTube.
Yeah,
These
every
people are gonna see
moment
me
now
trim
is
my
going to be
split
on the
ends.
internet.
So
People are gonna see Sydney fold her laundry.
right?
They're gonna love it. They're gonna love
Me
the
running
content.
away to have an emergency poop. You
I'm
never
gonna
know.
They're
turn my
gonna love
camera
that.
off liberally
She's
as
just-
needed.
She's just like us. But yeah, I think with this one, the buy-in is like they are these like fucking esoteric, not esoteric, but like they're these
That's a
like
big word.
Halloween people who like think what they're doing is like not like it's high art, but they're just like, we're doing the coolest shit. Like, we need to document what we're doing. So
Yeah, like us putting
we
our
can
podcast on
study
YouTube.
the tapes. Exactly. It's important. People need to know. Also, I'm sorry, the listeners said they liked the videos, and so that's why I'm doing it now.
It's all for you.
Yeah, it's all for you, babes. But yeah, so that was another buy-in for me. I was like, I totally believe that Alex Taylor, if there weren't other things going on, would review these tapes to see what they did wrong and fix it for next year, because he is that passionate. But anyway, the buy-in is what it is. But I do love the opening of this movie. I think they do a really good job. We got Diane Graves. She is the documentarian, walking around the outside of, what is it? The Abaddon Inn or the Abaddon Motel? Abaddon Inn. And they set it up pretty clearly that there was this spooky house, haunted house here 5 years ago. And on opening night, shit went to all fuck and everybody died. And it was a horrible, horrible thing. And they have that home video footage that they show almost right out the gate. That like a goer, a haunted goer. Okay.
A haunted goer.
Ooh.
Spooky enthusiast not involved with Hell House. Filmed like as shit went down, and you can't really see really anything that's going on, but you know that a lot went wrong. And I thought that was such a perfect opening, because then throughout the movie you get to see little pieces and understand what you saw at the beginning. And it's not like one of those annoying clips at the beginning where they like show the last second of the movie and then
Then
at
you
the
have to
end,
like
you say it
reverse
again.
engineer it through the film. Yeah.
It's
then
not
you're
like
like, "Oh,
that,
I've
but
seen
it's
this
that
before."
vibe a little bit. Yeah. I don't know.
They're
I
giving you
thought
a
it was well
taste,
done.
but not a whole bite.
You're gonna
Yes.
dip the toe. Dip the toe a little.
It's
Dip
just
the
an
toe.
hors d'oeuvre for the full meal, for the entree.
Yeah. I also think they do a good job of making you like this group of people. You don't really get to know two of them. I would say I don't know a damn thing about Tony or
I couldn't tell
what is
you.
even his name? Andrew. Andrew's the redhead.
Mac is what they
Mac-
call him in the movie.
Oh yeah.
I
McNamara
know-
is his last name.
I only know who Paul is and Sarah. All the other ones, I could not tell you who they are.
Alex
took me a
is
while.
the mastermind who wears the vest. He is
Ah,
the boyfriend,
know he's in
Sarah's
charge.
boyfriend. He wears the important vest. And then Tony is the guy who does the cameras. Who's hot, in my opinion. And then Andrew McNamara is the one who doesn't believe in ghosts, and he's a redhead, and he's curmudgeonly.
I agree with Sydney though. I think it was I got him down eventually, but it was really hard to know who was who and what their different roles were in the beginning. And like I guess that kind of makes sense in the sense that these people are documenting for themselves. They're not documenting for an audience, so they're not they wouldn't be taking the time in whatever they're filming to be like, I'm Paul, I'm the cameraman, I'm Tony, and I've known Alex forever, or whatever one. Like I don't know even between Tony and Mac which one was the friend and which one. I think Tony was the hire and like Mac was the friend from when they knew each other from when they were boys. Like, but I think it was hard to distinguish. And I think with the format that we got, Diane, the documentarian, she could have given us more pieces of that. Like they could have done that in the beginning to like introduce us to the characters in a way that I don't think would have felt too like ham-fisted. But I you know, the aspect of the documentary is also kind of a little wibbly wobbly. So
yeah, no, I think I totally agree with you. I watched the director's cut of this movie, which didn't add that much, but they did have a little bit more context like that. Like there was a scene that was a picture of all of them, and it was like Mac, Tony, Alex, Sarah, and Paul. Like, you know what I mean? Like said all their names with their pictures and stuff. So they cut some of that part out. It was only like 8-minute difference in the runtime. So
but that's a significant difference when you've got like Megan unrated is like an extra 45 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, it went because I didn't watch the whole director's cut all the way through because I was like, I can't watch this same movie right after I watch the
Back to
original one.
back.
I will fucking go insane. So I found it in a place where I could look at the little preview, and I was like, I don't recognize that. Click, you know what I mean? So I probably missed a bunch of shit. But yeah, there's a couple of poignant parts that I'll bring up once we get to them that are interesting takes. And for the most part, though, I think what they took out was for the better, because some of the stuff that they kept in, I think would have made it a little bit hokier. And I like how not bare bones, but I like how they kept it with the not theatrical cut. It didn't come out in theaters, unfortunately. But I like what they ended up doing with the cut that you see most often. But yeah, I mean, again, back to the beginning, I do think they set it up really well. They show that video like we were talking about from the attendee. That's the word I was looking for. Attendee. There you go. I found it. Spooky connoisseur attendee. And then I really love the photographer, Martin Cliver is his name, with the slick back hair. I love when they show the pictures inside of the Abaddon, and you see like the blood everywhere. Do you see that? What the fuck was that? What was that? Oh my god,
it, Monica.
Why did it do that? Abaddon?
I mean, that happened to someone else, or did you click something on accident?
I'm not touching my computer.
I'm sending balloons to Monica.
was so scared. What the fuck? That was so scary. See,
Monica,
this is
you'll
why,
float too.
this is
Oh
why
my
it's important to
God.
watch the YouTube video version.
I
so you
know
can
they're gonna
see
get
the
so much more
special
context for
effects.
silly little moments now.
That was really
I do
scary.
this to you. That's what
you?
I want to know.
How did it happen? Did I say a key word? What's some words that I said? In, Abaddon, photos,
Try saying
Cliver,
birthday.
birthday, happy birthday.
Well-
I didn't say happy birthday. I'm so scared. Anyway, all right, we can go back to the
Haunted
movie.
Zoom. We're actually changed to the movie. We're doing Unfriended Dark Web.
Oh my God, stop fucking God. I would love to do that. I would love to do that movie. I would love to do, well, I don't know if I watched that one actually. I would love to do The Host. Chelsea and I watched The Host. And
It's
it was
really little
scary.
though.
It's short and sweet and very spooky, scary skeletons. Anyway, okay, what was I talking about? Oh,
I think you're
yeah.
talking about balloons.
Yeah.
I was not talking about balloons. I was talking about the photographer. I just love the way he acted his part. I thought it was really funny how serious he was. He was taking it very seriously. But I don't blame him either because he had broken into the house and you don't know anything. Like Chelsea was saying, you have no idea that 15 people died. You know that people died, but unless you pause it, you don't know. They don't do a good job of explaining that. Once again, you can tell these are novice documentarians. But you know, and you can't tell anything from the video, but this guy goes inside and you can see that there's blood fucking everywhere, all over everything. And so you know that it got pretty fucking gruesome in there. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
you see on the police report like multiple injuries and fatalities, blah blah blah. So you know people did
Died. Yeah.
die.
They
And the photos
perished.
from the journalist prove that it wasn't a gas leak like some were speculating.
Yeah.
And so that was really the main takeaway from that aspect and like what it added to the film at that point in the film. But yeah, I mean, okay, I'm gonna say part of a spoiler or whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. At the end of the movie, it's revealed that like things happened to the documentarian crew or whatever. So I think there is like an argument to be made that like they didn't finish. Yeah, they didn't finish, and there was like more explanation or more B-roll they would have done or whatever.
Totally.
But Mitchell had to work with what he had. He had to just work with the pre-shot footage or whatever. But
Honestly, a brilliant cop out for not thinking of everything if that's
That's my
actually what
thing.
happened. But also
Yeah.
like
So
just
smart.
just smart anyway, because like, you know, you're wondering why don't I know anything, and then you fucking find out at the end.
yeah. Yeah, I think that is my overall complaint with movies like this in general. Which again, more spoilers, but like I think when you do found footage stuff and when you do like unsolved mystery stuff, it is both really realistic to be like, and we never found out exactly what happened because there's paranormal stuff going on, or the mystery was never solved, or the killer's still on the loose, blah blah blah, which like sure, there's an argument to be made for that, and like some people really like that narrative. I think it is really hard to justify that narrative sometimes, because isn't it so convenient for you as the storyteller and the filmmaker that you don't have to come up with an answer for a bunch of the questions that you've posited? Like, isn't it so convenient that you can be like, isn't that spooky scary? Anyway, we don't know why it happened or what happened exactly. And I just think like the degree of success of how well you pulled it off is really going to differ audience member to audience member a lot of the time.
Yeah, I totally see what you're saying, but I think that that's kind of what you get when it happens like to be like an in medias res thing, which is the crux of found footage. It's like you're seeing what happens as it happens, and there's usually not time for someone to analyze it afterwards who was a part of the thing, because they all fucking die in the movie. You know what I mean? So it's kind of an impossibility unless they add in a scene where Alex Taylor is like, and this is what I did, and I know you want to know, I'm just gonna tell you. Like that can't really happen. But also, my other thing I will say to you is, baby, they were saving it for Hell House LLC Origins.
Oh, well, there
This
you
is
go.
a trilogy after all.
They're
And
saving it for the sequel.
well, I feel like you could say the same thing about Talk to Me. I know Talk to Me like has so much else going on with it, but we never fucking find out what the fuck is going on at all. Like there's the hand. You don't know what is the lore with the hand. You know nothing
You just know
about
there's
it
a hand.
actually. You just know the hand brings the dead, blah, blah, blah. Talk to Me, candle. That's it. You know what I mean? But like because it's a film, you know, in a more traditional sense, there's a stylization and that sort of thing. You can't, and this is going to sound like I'm being mean to Talk to Me. We all know how much I love that movie, so let's be fine. But you can't hide anything behind like style and like artistic choices like that in found footage, because it's just like it can be artfully done, but it's a lot harder because we're supposed to believe that it's an amateur filmmaker, an amateur behind the camera or something like that. But again, we're gonna get all that lore, hopefully, and Talk to Me too. So like,
Yeah.
I really wish I had watched the sequel to this one before doing this, because it is, I agree with you, it is really frustrating because they bait you so much with this like huge lore behind the reason why the leader of this group, Alex, brought them to this inn. And there's something going on. There's something premeditated. There's something with this, like with possession and demons and the gates of hell. And you don't find out. And it's so fucking annoying. It's really annoying.
And also, like, they kind of tease at more lore or whatever, like, why did Alex pick this place and why did they come here, and is there some supernatural paranormal reason for that? And again, like you're saying, maybe they get into it more in the other movies, but also like there's that moment where Mac pulls Tony aside, or Tony pulls Mac aside, or whatever, and they discuss off camera a reason why they can't leave and why they can't bail. And I Googled it and I found a Reddit thread that basically is just like, somebody did a Q&A with the director, and basically the reason is they had no money, which is why they're not in the city doing this, which is why they're like out in the middle of nowhere using an abandoned hotel that closed 30 years ago, and they're staying on location instead of getting a hotel room, like, because it's cheap, because they need to save money. And like, it's weird to not go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say they just wanted their own little Twilight Meadow moment, sitting there and
very sweet. Love that for them. They are fully gay together, and I believe that with my whole heart. But
I
like,
loved that.
yeah, but like to like disguise that reason off camera and not include it makes it feel like it is so much more mysterious than it is. And maybe that wasn't the director's intention. Maybe he was just like, obviously, if you're telling secrets, you don't film yourself telling secrets, you turn the camera off. And maybe he meant it to be like obvious enough in the subtext that like they have no money. But to me also, like, okay, they're all so loyal to Alex or whatever, but if you think that you are staying somewhere that is actively fucking haunted and that there is actual harm being done to you and your friends potentially, like, sorry, I'm not on the hook for that. Alex is the owner, and he pays me to be here, but he's not splitting the profits with me because we're not co-owners. So like, how far does my loyalty extend in that regard? It just feels like there was opportunity
so fast.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of opportunities for what it almost like reads to the audience as there might be deeper lore here, and then if the director's just like, no, they just didn't have the money, it just feels like, okay, I don't know. It's
there is deeper lore though.
There should be. It feels like there should be, in terms of the lore that they've set up here. You know what I mean? But I think
there's some deleted scenes. But finish what you're saying, and I'll
yeah,
tell you after.
I think it's tricky when you have a movie like this. I know what you're saying about like it's unfinished and things that are unexplained and blah 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 blah. But when you have a literal title card that's like, and we never finished what happened. We never figured it out. Okay, bye. See you in the next movie. It just feels to me very like, all right, like it's hard to pull that. It's Blair Witch sets that up in the beginning of the movie and then they just present it to you. You know what I mean? For this movie, and I understand why they did it because they're trying to preserve some reveals for the end that I do think were well done, but I just think you like really pull the rug out of yourself a lot by being like, and we don't know. Anyway, the end. Film directed by director. It's just kind of like an anticlimactic.
I
It,
think
like,
that
takes
I
away
think
from
that
the
just
tone.
for me versus you, that pisses you off a lot more than it pisses me off. But it
That's
does
true.
still piss me off. But but I was so scared throughout this movie, and I think that they executed the scares so well, and I liked the lore, and I liked the
Yeah.
lore that we got and the story so much that I feel like that it was fine with for me that like you never fucking figure it out because like obviously there's some big heavy supernatural shit going on here. But
Yeah.
to add to the lore, I will share with you some pieces from the director's cut that add
Okay.
to
Yeah.
part of it. So one thing that I thought was cool that I wish that they had added in, I think that to answer your not to answer your question, this is speculation. To speculate about your question about like why the fuck would they stay? I think that many of them were being controlled by whatever entity was in the house earlier in the story than you might believe. There is a
Oh,
part
for sure.
when there's a part when in the director's cut when Paul is looking for Alex somewhere or something like that, or he's looking for something, can't remember exactly. He goes into Alex and Sarah's room and he finds Alex's pants and there's a booklet inside of the pants and he's going through the booklet and there's like scare ideas and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, that's cool. That's great. And then like there starts being notes about the Abaddon. I keep wanting to say Abaddon. I keep wanting to say Aberdeen. That's from something else. Abaddon. And then there's a page and it says Abaddon, 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 like written all the
Very
time.
The
And
Shining.
then the pages just continue where it's just like written with that. And then there's drawings on top of it. There's like a spiral, like the fucking ring thing. There's like a picture of like a devil. And there's
There's a
just like the
pentagram.
ravings of, yeah, a pentagram. There's like the ravings of a lunatic kind of thing in there. So it's clear that Alex
It's very The
has,
Shining. Yeah.
that Alex has something going on that he has been possessed. Yeah, it gets even more like The Shining, so just hold on to your socks.
Ooh. Okay.
Sarah obviously has been touched by this spirit. You know what I mean? She is being possessed. She's walking around. She's in
Talking
the
to
corner.
herself.
There's that part where I listened to it with headphones this time, which really changed it. And it was a little cheesy, but it's so obviously like audio run backwards when she's in that corner. And I wonder what it says right way
Oh,
around.
it's
I was like,
on trivia.
oh, what is it?
On IMDb trivia, and this is what it is actually really interesting. So I do think, just a quick side note, I think probably if I went back and watched the film a second time and I knew what the ending was, it would be less of like a bummer note stuck on at the end, and I would be able to be like more appreciative of the good bits throughout. Because there are some good details in here, like this one, where when they find her sleepwalking, staring at the wall, and it appears she's speaking in tongues, what she's saying is, when I got to the front door, the police were arriving. Which I think is, I don't remember if that's something that she says or something that one of the other people says in the beginning of the movie, but it's like a line that sounds really familiar as something we hear at another point in the movie that obviously chronologically would come later in the film. So for her to be saying it at that point and saying it backwards at that point, you can really tell that there's like influence and sway on her already.
Okay. That's interesting. It's interesting because that kind of plays into another deleted scene, which at the time that I watched it, I thought, oh, this is a little too cheesy. And maybe I still feel that way, but it does kind of fit in with that, with the playing with the timeline two things. One, there was a deleted scene with this other guy, like who's not one, like a sit down scene interview, excuse me.
Oh,
Interview
interesting.
scene with another guy, and he's a guy from the town.
Townie.
Yeah, so he's some townie, and
the
they're
lore
like,
of Abaddon.
oh yeah, they wanted him. Well, they say nothing, pretty much. He's like, oh, like, how did like Alex get involved? And they're like, oh, like we were excited for him to come to the town, but we wanted him to stay away from the Abaddon. And they're like, why? And he was like, we just wanted him to stay away from the Abaddon. He could go to another place in the town, and we could he just should stay away from the Abaddon. And he doesn't really say anything. And then there's another part with my favorite man with the greatest facial hair in the entire world. His name is Robert Lyons. He's the
Great
man
name.
with the big beard, wonderful guy. That's his name in the movie. And he goes on to say like, oh, well, there's also the image of the outside of the house, like, and how do we explain that? And this is where it gets a little hokey, but it was 2016. And this was a very big thing, I feel like, right around the time we were in high school. Google Images, not Google Images, what's it called? Google Maps Street View images where weird shit's happening. You remember how we were all obsessed with that when Google Street View came out? Well, there's a Street View image of the house. And I don't know when Street View came out, but Alex Taylor is in the picture. And it's from 2014. So the picture is from 2014. You know, there's that point in the movie where he like goes back up to the balcony and he's looking at the Hell House sign and he's just like contemplating right before they open up. So he's right there. He's standing right there. And it's just like him being like a ghost. And apparently every time they try to retake the picture, he still shows up in the image. And so that's like another thing that they
Spooky.
cut out of it, which I was like, good thing they cut that out because that's so hokey. You know what I mean?
And it would give a lot
But-
away early on.
Yeah. I think that it was a good call from the producers to cut that because of that reason. But also it does make it strengthens this backwards talk where she's talking about something like that she wouldn't
That'll
say for
happen
5
later.
years
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Like there was some other thing too, and I don't know when Street View started, so maybe this doesn't make sense, but like he was in the image like from before he ever went there. That they say something like that, like before, but I don't know when Street View started, so that doesn't sound right to me. But anyway, it was just like it was a total The Shining thing where like he's always been in the picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to do. It's a little much, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, I think again, you're right that there is more lore to be revealed in the other movies in this trilogy,
Yeah.
I'm sure. And like obviously if you are planning on doing a trilogy, you are saving some of it for later. But it felt like there were some missed opportunities here, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
No,
like
I feel you.
with the secret thing, like in my notes I was like, was the 11-year-old and her mother who went missing, like was that Alex's family or something somehow? Like I was just expecting there to be like a deeper
bigger
attachment
connection.
between him and
Yeah.
like the lore of the Abaddon hotel that lured him there. He went there for a reason rather than like he was cheap, he went there, it was cheap because it's a haunted house. Guess what? The house haunted him.
I really do think he was lured there somehow, but I don't
Okay.
like, again, we don't know
We can't get
how.
into the
But I feel like the house like needed to feed or something like that, in maybe the same way that the original innkeeper like opened the inn, and then because a similar, it
Mr.
seems
Abaddon.
like
No, he had a name.
Yeah, it seems like history is repeating itself, obviously. Like the person who brings all the people there hangs themselves after like the demons have been fed or whatever the fuck. So I don't know for sure, but like it felt too strange and too random for him to have found this place, and it feels like he didn't rent it or anything. I feel like he just like was like, it's empty. Let's just go
took
in
over.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, That was really, really frustrating because they have that scene too with Alex, like right on the day when things are opening. And we will go back to the earlier parts of the film, don't worry. But on the day that it was opening and Alex has the gaunt look on his face, the bags underneath his eyes, like I know that Mac is supposed to be like a non-believer, but I could also believe that like he was also being influenced, and that's why he's more, it's either he so doesn't believe so much that he is willing to like gloss everything over to make them get through this event, or he's also being influenced, because obviously Paul wasn't being influenced because we're from his perspective. We see him seeing what's going on, but we
Paul
don't
knows
really
what's
know
up.
what's we don't know what's going on with anyone else. Like we know Sarah's been influenced. We know Alex has been influenced. But we don't know what's going on with Tony. And we don't know what's going on with Mac. And so those are kind of some wild cards. But you can see how it starts to take people over. Like it took over Paul completely. It had to kind of take Paul by force, it seems, because he was so tuned in to what was going on. But anyway, I guess we should rewind
Unless he was one of the last hanger-oners, and then like he was it because he was I mean, I guess. Okay, the thing with him is like he is a good person to be the cameraman because he is so like untrustworthy in many ways to the other members of the group. So even when he is like documenting something spooky on camera, like one of our first major scares is when the clown whose mannequin head doesn't swivel, and so it must always be facing forward. Yeah, that clown is scary.
That's such a scary mask.
But so it's like the clown is down in the basement. It is a mannequin, so it doesn't move, and it can't even turn its head. And then we see it like standing in the hallway at one point. And he thinks that it is Tony dressed up in the mask, pretending to be the clown. He goes back in the other room. Tony's already there. And then he's documented it. You know what I mean? He got it on camera and he's showing it to his friends on camera to be like, see, isn't this fucked up? Somebody explain what's happening here because it seems unexplainable. But he's such a piece of shit a lot of the time that they're just like, Paul, playing pranks again. Like, we don't believe that you didn't doctor this, and we don't believe you when you say that you didn't, because like, yeah, why would you fess up? You're such a piece of shit. Of course you would just try and keep the prank going to see like if you can get us and if you can convince us. And they lay it good groundwork for stuff like that, especially with him like peeping on Sarah with the camera and stuff like that. Like they lay
and him being such a fucking horn dog for the damsel in distress. Yeah.
That is something they do a good job of in that regard, because they really do work to be like, even when something should be provable to the rest of the group, the source is still untrustworthy enough that everyone can dismiss it if they're not already being influenced by the house, or if they are being influenced by the house, obviously like they have a vested interest in dismissing it anyway.
One of my favorite tropes is house possessing people to kill them. The house is like, actually, I want more friends.
I'm lonely.
And girl, same.
Yeah.
I think it is like both a really fun idea. I was surprised that they were also against the Abaddon Hotel in the beginning, because I kind of felt like, okay, Alex early on is being like, see, half of our work is done for us practically, right? Like Paul's on board, which is also a funny way to be like, see, Paul's a piece of shit. But they were so anti building their haunted house in a potentially haunted location, which is so interesting to me, because I do think it really goes either way with horror people sometimes. Of like, sometimes people are like, that shit's real and I'm not fucking with it, and I've learned from horror movies not to fuck with it. And then other people are like, I'm so into it, I'm gonna collect all of the bones and haunted items I can find and like go to places that are spooky scary because I want to have an experience, etc., etc.
A good life rule is don't do something illegal while doing something illegal, you know?
One crime at a time.
Yeah. And so like
pace yourself.
Exactly. Like if you're doing like a haunted house. Don't do a haunted house in a haunted house, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're mocking the ghost.
Exactly.
Come on.
What if they think you're being mean to them?
Exactly.
I was watching this and I was like, this wouldn't be a horror movie. And so we would not be watching it as a horror movie if this was the kind of film. But like, what if the ghosts got into it and they just like helped with your haunted house? You know what I mean? And you just like formed an alliance with them. Like, obviously, that would be a completely different film, but that would be a fun haunted house.
And then as
Yeah.
payment, they murder you at the end.
They don't murder you. You made an alliance with them. They murder other people.
No, they murder you at the end. That's your payment, and you don't realize it until the very end, and then they murder you. They've got you right where they want you. They think
you don't murder it until you're putting on the haunted house the next year, and you're like, how come nobody's taking my flyers? Because you're a ghost.
Because you've been a ghost the whole time.
You've been a ghost for the past year. Yeah. How come
wait.
I'm having trouble getting scare actors and it's just like people ignoring you and walking down the street?
I just read a book that
honestly,
had
people not paying
similar
attention to me
tropes.
would be very scary to me.
It'd be like,
Yeah. No, I would-
everybody in Abaddon is so rude.
I would notice right away because I need attention to survive, so I would immediately know as a ghost.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, time
Like, what do you
passes
mean? I'm
differently when
screaming at
you're
the
a
top
ghost.
of my
You know
lungs.
what I mean? It
No,
could be
it's
one of
true.
those things where all of a sudden it's just next Halloween and you're like, wow, time really has been flying lately.
So weird. I just feel kind of confused.
Anyway, the calendar says it's October again, so I guess we gotta get ready.
Well, I wanted to correct something that I said earlier where I was like, oh, maybe the house has always been evil, blah, 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 blah. Wasn't Abaddon, the Abaddon guy, the innkeeper guy, wasn't he like a Satanist? And he chose
I wrote his name
that
down.
town.
Yeah.
He
Andrew
chose that
Tully.
town. Tully, yeah. He chose that town because Abaddon is the name of the gates of hell in something.
The name of the demon who guards the gateway
Oh,
to hell.
The name of the demon, excuse me.
And
pardon
he
me.
was a latter-day Dante. It's what they called him. They said
Oh
he
my
was
God,
maybe
that
a
was a
cult
little-
leader.
A little hokey for me too. Well, okay, that's another thing then too. I mean, again, all speculation here. And if you've seen Origins, don't tell me what happens. I'm gonna watch it. Wait a couple weeks and then we can talk about it. But maybe like Alex got into Satanism, you know, and that's what it was. Maybe
Andrew
it was,
Tully was his father. Yeah.
The Satanism is hereditary. Wow.
Oh no!
It is hereditary, and I saw that in the movie Hereditary.
It's so true. It is so true. Oh my God. I don't know. I just think they did a really good job of pacing the scares in this opening part. And I'm glad, like I said, that this movie isn't mockumentary or documentary, whatever, the entire time that we get to have that like just day after
She dumps the
day
tapes in their
of-
lap. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's such a good creepy buy-in too, or it's just like no one's heard from her for fucking 5 years. Like they don't make that very clear. It's more clear in the
Mhm.
director's cut that she's been like no one's heard from her.
And she's the
Like,
one that
where-
seeks them out, I think, is what it says in the beginning.
Yeah, she finds out that they are doing
the
this
documentary.
and she reaches out to them. Like, where the fuck has she been the whole time? We find out she's been in 2C the whole time. But yeah, I don't know. I just like I'm a jump scare girly. I like that sometimes, but I hate when they're cheap. But I just felt like this was really artfully done. I was so scared.
These were great
I-
jump scares.
They're great jump scares. I think the first time I watched this, I was movie supplemented in a way where I didn't notice things as well. But can I tell you, watching this in your bed with the computer on your chest, that's the best way to watch it.
When you have it 3 inches from your
freaking-
face. Yeah.
I was freaking out. I was freaking out this morning. 8 a.m. in your bed, blackout curtains, snuggled up in your Spooky Tuesday sweatshirt.
I also watched this movie
Way to
at
do
8
it.
in the morning today.
It's
Oh my
a good
God,
way
look
to
at you
start
two.
your
It
day.
is a good morning movie, weirdly enough.
I was freaking out. And then Adam came in and tried to talk to me during like the high intensity crux of the film. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Leave right now.
Right now. How dare you?
I was like, this is not. He was like, I need you to put lotion on my back. I was like, no, I'm being actively scared by the spooky clown. Please,
I'm
please.
shitting my pants as we
I'm
speak.
shitting myself. I can't. It wouldn't be sanitary to be shitting myself and put lotion on your back at the same time.
Your butt's pretty far away from your hands, Monica. I think
It
it
was
would be
really
fine.
crazy, Chelsea. Okay,
He was
you
in
don't know what
bed
I was
in the fetal
experiencing.
position. You never know.
Oh my god, yeah. Do y'all like haunted, like scare houses, that sort of thing, like Halloween Horror Nights kind of vibes?
I've never done Halloween Horror Nights. I am fond of haunted houses. I like them okay. I usually don't get that scared. And a lot of that comes from like the traditional knowledge that they can't touch you. You know what I mean? They're not allowed to touch you. Most places. Some ones are really scary and you have to sign a waiver that says they can fucking cut your fingers off or
Oh,
whatever.
I have a good
Because
story about that.
yeah, one of my friends sent me an article about one that is like the whole premise is that they psychologically torture you and you have to sign a waiver that says like they can shave all of your hair off and they can break your fingers and like blah blah blah. And most of the point is that so nobody lasts more than 2 seconds before tapping out. But
There's a documentary about that haunted
yeah.
house on Netflix now.
And
Oh
I
my
read, I
God.
didn't see that documentary, but I read an article about it. So maybe I'll put that in the episode links. But
My friend
know-
went to one like that, and they cut. She had hair all the way down past her tit, and they cut a snip of the front of her hair, like right at her cheekbone, and
I'd be
it was
so
very
mad.
noticeable. And she had to get bangs. She was so
I'd be
mad, and
so
so
mad. Yeah.
they do cut your fucking hair. So I would not.
Yeah, I'd be so
I don't want
mad.
to do that.
You
But
know me.
I feel you,
love
Chelsea.
a good haunted house. And I've worked a haunted house before, which is
Ooh,
very fun.
Sydney and I have gone together to horror nights. We've had
Oh, yeah.
blast.
They're fun, and I think like I'm so interested in the set design and like the aesthetic and like the ideating that goes into it and stuff like that. So I'm really into that aspect of haunted houses. I don't usually find them that scary. I didn't find this movie that I wasn't like afraid watching this movie really at any point. I'm interested. I did get like the little chills at one point, but the kind of horror that makes me genuinely feel afraid is usually more like psychological.
Here's my thing. A jump scare is gonna get me. I'm not gonna be scared, but
love
I am
it.
gonna like
But I'll be
jump and it's gonna
startled.
like
Yeah.
and so but
I like
it's gonna
that
startle
feeling.
me every single time. And so haunted houses, even though I know like it's not that scary, but
Mhm.
it's all jump scares. And that's gonna
Yeah.
get me every single time.
That's the thing. I'm like the jumpiest person ever, just on the
That's
day to
true.
day.
Monica's
But
big reactions in
then-
movies.
Yeah, but then this thing happens. We haven't been to a scary thing together, Chelsea. Sydney knows. I
Mm.
become this tough girl version of myself when I go to Halloween Horror Nights, because I used to go every single year for like, I don't know, like 8 years in a row. So I knew what the fuck I knew where everyone was going to be, because I just
Yeah.
like knew how they created the
Oh, do I have
scares
to
or
go
whatever.
around the blind corner? I wonder if anybody's gonna be on the other side of the blind corner. Yeah.
No, well, I'm just like, I'm looking for like, oh, the like there's a line in the wall, that's a door. Like they're coming out that door. Like I know where all of them are. And also I would go with people who were more scared than me. And so I would like protect them or whatever if they needed that. And so it like ruined it for me for years. I had a great time still, but it wasn't until like the last time I think we went together, Sydney, and something happened. It was just a good day. And I was shitting myself the entire time. I was so scared. I was
They
drunk.
always pick on me.
You
'cause,
look
like-
like an easy victim.
Well, I'm blonde. I'm easy to see in the dark because my hair shines.
Oh,
you
under
know-
all the UV lights.
and
Yeah,
so
you
they,
just
like,
light right up.
They know where I am, and they always just like.
Come for
Target you.
you.
And so Monica was with me, and therefore we were getting it like extra.
Oh, maximum
They
scares.
also go after people who look like they're freaked out already, so they will
Yeah.
cry and die. But because I become tough girl Monica, who doesn't exist in real life except for in these moments. They will like, I'll look at them like,
yeah,
like
hey,
you can't fuck
yeah.
with me. And I'm like big and tall too, so there's that aspect of it. And so they won't come and try to get me because they can tell that I'm too cool. Anyway, I really wish I had gone to one this year.
I know.
Like, I don't
really
think that this one would
upset.
have scared me.
Me and my
This
mom were supposed to
house.
go to the haunted chicken house, and we didn't have time.
Oh, spooky vampire
Haunted
chickens.
chicken
or
house
something?
sounds promising.
Yeah, I know.
sounds
It's supposed to be really
great.
good. They also have where you get on like a bus and it's at night and you're driving down like the dirt roads and you're going real fast. And I'm like, how is this legal? It looks, I'll have to
Doesn't
send
sound
y'all a
legal.
video of it because it looked terrifying.
That does not look legal
Interesting.
at all. Ah.
Yeah, that was one of my
Um,
questions about this movie also, is like, okay, we talked about this a little bit of like, obviously a lot of them are under the influence of the house or whatever when they decide to just like move forward with things. Even though it is October 8th and this is opening night, but they don't know it's going to be a one night only show. Presumably they're like, I guess I'll just tough it out for the next 22 days. But that aside, it's a decent sized crowd for this haunted house lined up outside, and like, I don't really know how far away we are from this city. They kind of try to posit that like the drive
40
out
minutes.
okay, that's good information. That the drive out to the haunted house is going to be part of the appeal, essentially, because it's so scary driving out there, as opposed to being able to walk out the door and get a slice of pizza across the street, like Sarah is saying.
Mhm.
But it made me wonder, like, are any of these people local? You know what I mean? Like, we hear from Melissa, and by the way, I did just think that it was funny that two of their actors were named Melissa and Joey, when Melissa and Joey was a freeform sitcom that was airing around
my
this
God.
time.
Oh my God.
With Melissa Joan Hart and Joey what's his face.
Lawrence.
Yep.
Yes, and you know what? I loved it. I loved Melissa and Joey. But Melissa is saying like she is a local. She doesn't know the history necessarily, but she's heard the rumors. And so I don't know, maybe they have like a dedicated following. They've been doing this for like 8 years or something like that. So I think there's room to be like, yeah, word of mouth has spread enough that there's this many people on night one.
Yeah,
but
they've been doing it for years. That's why. Hell House LLC, baby, is a business.
yeah, I guess they have a loyal following,
They
in
have a
addition to a
loyal
loyal
following.
staff.
They only had like 3 actors and a bunch of like dummies. It
And
looked like a
Sam,
horrible.
the girl was like never even there most of the time until she was welcoming people into the house. She was very underutilized in the film.
And also the girl who was literally chained up like half
Melissa.
naked.
The way
I
they
know.
sexualized her costume, I know Paul kept joking about her being topless, but then they showed her chained up in the t-shirt, and I was like, that is pretty bad. That is half naked. And then they were like, and now we're gonna cut the t-shirt open. I was like, and she has to be like this all night? Like that.
Also, why would they use real cuffs where she was actually locked up? That's
my
why
God.
I'm
That's
like,
the issue.
like Alex was trying to fucking, I don't
Alex
know.
was doing a human
He was-
sacrifice from the
He was
beginning.
doing a human sacrifice. I feel like he was doing a human sacrifice. I don't know. We'll have
Everybody
to
likes to
watch.
do a little human sacrifice.
She was so cute too. Ugh, so sad. Oh,
Poor
okay.
Melissa.
Before we get towards the end here, I just want to shout out the part that really scared me the most, besides every time that the clown did things. And I'll say the 2 times that I was scared. There were 2 times. The strobe thing when they put the camera on Paul's head and there was like an extra
Just
guy.
like a skull guy.
Extra skull guy, and he's the skull guy at the end in the cloak that like comes up, who's just down there in the basement. That really fucking freaked me out. And also it was gimmicky, but when Paul got eaten by the girl in his bed
he's,
and he's
like,
hiding
peeking
under
out.
the covers.
Okay, but that made
Almost shit myself.
me laugh hysterically.
I was like, get up and do something, you useless piece of shit. But no.
But like that's exactly what I would do, because like literally the rule is if you're under your covers, they cannot get you. That's right.
I was under my
hear
covers while
you.
watching that, and so it was very scary. It was too real.
Yeah, I both had the reactions at one point when they saw the clown downstairs, and then I think when they got Sarah, I think maybe that same moment where I was like, just go upstairs, lock yourself in your room until morning. You can investigate in the morning. You don't need to be doing it right now. Just stay upstairs where it is safe. But when Paul was in his room and he was getting got, I think, at that point when it's in the room with you being under the covers would not be my approach. When I have had moments in my youth, which I can only ascribe to like night terrors now, where I was like, there's someone in the room with me and I can see him in the corner and I'm looking at him. It was like, I'm just gonna fucking stare at you, but a little bit pretend to be asleep, but mostly stare at you because I'm keeping an eye on things. You're not gonna come over closer to me without me knowing about it. I'm not gonna let you out of my sight. I'm watching. So if you try something, then I'll know, and then I'll take action.
Try
Yeah,
me right now.
I'm not giving you the opportunity to get this close to my face without me knowing about it.
No, fair.
But I would say he needed to be hiding himself under the covers, but like the camera peeking out so that he can be looking at I don't know, I guess we never saw what kind of camera it is, but I'm assuming there's like a little viewfinder or monitor or something, but
I don't know because they had to put it on the TV to
Yeah, remember it was
watch back
2009.
the footage. So
it was, but I feel like the classic back in the day had like the little fold out, my digital camera from middle school.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that one of the biggest scares too was just once Paul's already gone, and the piano bit starts playing, and
that was spooky
whole
too.
thing with Tony and
Mhm.
Mac. They're running around in the fucking clown heads keep changing direction, and then Paul's just like laying there against the wall looking fucking stricken.
Oh my god.
Oh. Ugh.
When they
It just-
recovered Paul, or when Paul popped back up from their perspective, I guess, because to a degree, I think in that moment they kind of just blame everything on Paul. But when he's just like sleeping the rest of the days away for several days, it seemed like, until opening night, like,
Yeah.
why would you at some point not be like, okay, does he have mono or something? Like, clearly he is not.
Has anyone kissed
well, if
him?
he
We're
can't
all gonna
wake
get
up,
it.
like,
Right.
does he have meningitis? You know what I mean? I would start to be like, he has a wasting illness or whatever, and we can't just leave him here to sleep without attending to that in some capacity. Or even if we can just leave him here to sleep, why would we not be like, send him back? Do they have apartments to go back to? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't
They only got one car.
maybe they're literally just like, but they're only 40 minutes from the city, you said.
They only got one car.
Time
is money.
Yeah, they've got to get
Chelsea.
ready for the show.
they're
Yeah,
not in their
Alex
right
and Sarah
minds.
do disappear at that one point, and that's why Tony and Mac like go to the field or whatever, right? Or is that a different part? Maybe.
I don't know if
I guess it doesn't matter.
they disappear.
yeah,
I
the
think they
stakes
just
of the
go
movie-
away so they can talk on their own. Tony and Mac do.
Yeah.
It's not clear because we don't get to see every moment of everything that's happening, but again, that's fine with me.
And maybe they all live in one big apartment, and then for the months of September and October, they sublet it out because they can't be paying rent and not living there because, again, they're in financial straits. So
Here's the
Yeah.
thing: if this movie was made now, they would be living in like a van, and they'd be doing van life stuff and doing.
van life, yeah.
Yes.
There's another one. When you guys were first pitching this movie, I don't think either of you were there, but there was one like a OG Spooky Tuesday evening before we started the podcast, or maybe after, I don't remember, where we watched something called The House or Houses That October Built.
Yes.
That was about
Oh,
like,
you guys have seen that? I've been wanting to
Yeah.
see that.
I felt medium about it in my recollection.
We did a spooky crew thing on it during COVID.
back in the day.
Back in the day.
And that was like a group of friends in an RV traveling around to a bunch of different haunted houses. And they did one of the like really extreme ones, like what we were talking about earlier. So that is kind of like that take of like they're living in the RV or whatever, so they're like contained, etc. But I don't know.
What?
Obviously
There's
only
a
so much
person
space
in
the
that
universe.
movie who plays a character named Traniotomy.
I believe you, but I don't recall.
I was like, oh, this
Maybe it's one of the
actress's name is
spooks.
Tansy. That's a cool name. Who did she play? Traniotomy. Anyway, continue with your point, Chelsea. Need to watch this movie now. Need to see more about traniotomy.
My point is really just I think I'm getting lost in the weeds again of like these are real people living in the real world with real fleshed out lives, and they're not, they're movie characters. So
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know. It's so I really want to see the subsequent ones. But I don't need to know all the details still to love what we got here, because it's just so ominous. You're like, what is going on? Something really fucked up is happening. What actually happened? You know that 15 people died, or you don't actually know unless you paused it and you read it, or you read the IMDb thing. But I don't know. I think they did a great job of building the tension leading to that final moment. And then you just get to see how everything hits the fan. Because was also interesting to me to see like all of the corners they were cutting safety wise, because like I've worked in events before, like you do need to have eyes on every fucking room. Of course you do. Like, oh, the radios don't work, so you can't talk to each other. You need
Wrong.
to
You
fix
need that.
that. You have
the
to
bathroom
fix
camera
that.
went out and you guys are just rolling forward anyway. I'm sure that's fine.
Yeah, no, it was just like you can tell, like, yeah, they've been doing this for years, but they're still amateurs. And that's what leads me to believe that like there's something nefarious pushing them forward, because they're cutting so many corners here. But
Yeah,
I
and
love
I mean, like, that's what compels Tony to keep filming, maybe, after Paul, who is our first cameraman, like, disappears and then is not well when he comes back. Like, once you say that the house is capable of possessing these people, or the spirits in the house are capable of possessing these people, you can kind of legitimize whatever decision you want to make for them on their behalf or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the construction of the film is interesting because the way that they're giving us the information is like very well suited to when things are revealed the way that they are revealed. But again, when you have someone like Mitchell constructing the narrative, it makes sense. And I did like when you could like connect those moments. Did you want to say more before we talk about the end, or can I say stuff about the end?
No, let's talk about the end. I mean, there's something I want to talk about, like with what happens when the shit hits the fan in the house before the end. So maybe I'll talk about that first. So once they actually open Hell House LLC, we know almost immediately things go to shit. I loved seeing from the camera's perspective, not just that attendee, we learned a word, not just from their perspective, actually seeing what happened. Another thing that was in the director's cut that wasn't in the original is they fleshed out the basement scene a little bit more. I don't think it really added that much. They just like showed a little bit more, and then you see damsel in distress's like corpse on the ground, and then there's an explosion and a hole opens up in the earth, and her body falls down into the hole. So that's the big ad there. Was the big an explosion in there. So nothing too exciting, but
that
just
makes sense with how they could get away with being like, maybe it was a gas leak.
Yeah. Well, also the town knows there's something fucked up with that. Like with
Yeah, that's
with
why
that
you
added
can so
scene.
excuse the police being like, they just rushed me out and they didn't ask me any questions.
It was just a gas leak.
Yeah, and with that scene with that man from the town where he's like, well, just don't go to the Abaddon. Just don't go to the Abaddon. I won't say why, but just don't go to the Abaddon, you know? Like, they obviously don't want it to get out that their town is a gate to hell, because they, I think, would get
Bad
a
for
bunch of
business.
looky-loos and then more people. It would be good
My
for
life
business.
savings are the fact that I own this house, and if the real estate value goes down, yeah, classic.
No, I think it's the
Okay.
opposite. I think that they
Oh.
know that there's something sinister there, and if that comes out, it will draw more attention to it, and then it could feed the beast.
Oh,
that sort of
unleash
a thing.
it.
Yeah, that's kind of, it could
Wow.
go either way, but that's what I was
If you
thinking.
feed it, it'll get more powerful, but right now it's only hungry.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like they, like with Sarah's character, she can be used as a pawn of whatever this force is at times, because I do think it's a little strange that like she goes upstairs. She's told to go upstairs, right? To go up and check on things up there. But she's gone for like all of that action that's happening, and then when they finally do get up to the attic and see that Alex is being hung up there, like, where has Sarah been this whole time? Was she a part of that? Like,
Did she do it?
did she like do it while being possessed by the demon thing or whatever? Who fucking knows? But it's interesting to see like when the characters can be completely taken over by whatever this demon guy is. Abaddon, I guess Abaddon. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd have to watch it again really to be matching things up that I am recalling with what actually happens in the movie, because like if you ask me from watching the initial attendee footage from the very beginning who was the spooky bartender, I would have said Alex. But then when I'm like watching the footage at the end, I'm like, but isn't he like watching the cameras in the control room, and then he's also up in the attic, so like who's the spooky bartender or whatever? Like I don't know. A lot of those things like maybe I could iron out by just knowing who everyone is by the time I'm watching it. You know what I mean?
yeah, I was also confused about who the spooky bartender was. It seemed like there's something off.
It was
with
a
him,
ghost
too.
all along.
Well, it could have
maybe
been.
yeah, it might have been.
Yeah, because there's
Really? Who
some.
knows?
There's I remember throughout, like if you watch it again, there's like moments where you like see guys, like you see some guys that
There's
aren't
guys,
supposed to
did
be
you
there.
know?
There's some guys. There's a few guys around, spooky little
Yeah.
guys put in there.
There's at least one or two moments where you see someone in the background that both the people in the moment don't remark upon and the people who are seemingly like reviewing the footage later don't highlight.
Yeah. But I think they cut it in a really good spot. Like you get that climactic moment, like Alex has killed himself the same way that Tully had killed himself. And then everybody's knocked out on the floor, the camera's on the floor, and then it cuts back to our documentarians and the interview with Sarah. And it makes sense that she would be upset by having to retell that part of the story. You're assuming maybe that's as far as she got. And so it makes sense that she has to go, but she is so casual and so cool. She's like, I'm feeling a little tired. You can catch me in room 2C. Oh, by the way, you should really go into the house.
You should really go. She said it like 3
Absolutely
times. And I
break
was like,
into the house.
girl, this is a little pushy. I think I have an idea what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't know. I just loved how they did the end too. How like you see like the documentarians going to the house, they let you know that Mitchell or whatever the fuck stayed back
Mitchell
to
stays
review,
behind to catalog the footage.
and then you see what
It
happened
says
because
what he sees after Dan had left is unexplainable. That's
Yep.
what it says on screen.
it is unexplainable. Because Sarah
That's true.
has just said she walked right to the front door and she was fine and nothing happened to her in between then and the end. But no, actually, it was actually really fucking sad. Like, poor Sarah, she's having a horrible time. There's spooky ghost men all around the town. And then she finally sees Paul, though a creep. She loves Paul. They have that cute banter in the car when they're talking about I Am Legend. That's the movie they're talking about, by the way. In the deleted scenes, you find that out. And they also make jokes about the Titanic. Very great character building that they cut out of the film. But it's just like to point out that Sarah doesn't know anything about horror at all. She doesn't watch like any horror movies. But I don't think not watching I Am Legend makes you not know anything about horror movies. Just saying. I have not watched I Am Legend, and I don't
Escape
plan
from
on
New
it.
York.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The two movies any horror fan must see.
Of course.
I haven't seen either of those.
Escape from New York is good, but I fell asleep during part of it. So more action.
I liked
than
Kurt
horror,
Russell
I
in
would
The
say.
Thing.
He's incredible. He's very hot also in that movie. He has an eye patch. Anyway, back to the movie. But yeah, I mean, I just thought it was so sad when she like sees Paul. She's so happy to see him finally. Everybody else is fucking dead.
He's
And
up
gives
and
him
moving
that-
around even. You know, he's not
Yeah.
sleeping anymore.
And she gives him that huge hug. And then he beats her to death with the camera. He beats her to death. Well, okay,
Horrible
she's
way to
still
go.
alive a little bit. She then gets sucked
Gotta do
Dragged
some
away.
bloody wheezes.
by the demon. I don't know. I just love how they cut that together, and then they cut back to the documentarians actually making it into the house, and you're like, oh, well, Sarah's been lying. Shit's about to be fucking insane. And did you notice like Alex in the house? Did you see him? He's in the house while the documentarians are in there.
I
like,
noticed
you can see
somebody
him
that
for
they
a
didn't
second.
like remark on. Yeah, I think that was one of the moments I was talking about. But
Yeah, that was Alex. And then there's like a little demon guy.
I want to know how like the government didn't take this footage and make like its own little X-Files department but for ghosts, and was like,
Mitchell said
actually
it.
no, you can't release this because ghosts.
maybe
kept
Mitchell
it.
has a history of being an untrustworthy documentarian, and so they're like, Mitchell's just trying to get a hit. This isn't real footage or whatever.
Mitchell released it direct to Shudder without letting the government know. And now
They're
it's
coming
on
for it
YouTube.
after.
They
That's
can't.
the third movie. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, once
The
it's on
third
the internet, it's
movie
there
is
forever.
The FBI intervention.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier, is that like they say like Mitchell stayed behind to review the footage, and so then they give you the rest of the tapes that Sarah provided to Diana or whatever her name is, and what's the other guy's name? Dan. She gave them the tapes. They show a little bit that's on the rest of there. Presumably Mitchell has been watching it or skimming through it, but it's a fair amount of footage. Maybe Sarah told the story faster. So Diane and Dan are getting out of there before Mitchell has gotten to that point in the tapes. But I do like that, like when they're walking around in the Abaddon Hotel looking at things, they get a call from Mitchell, presumably to be like, there's this unexplainable footage that I saw after you and Dan left. Yeah, but they ignore the call, so they don't get it. So I thought that
he
was
probably was calling to be like, she fucking lied to you. Like, that stuff did happen to her on the way out of the house. Like, don't go in there.
She's a ghost.
Yeah, to be either like she lied or like there's something weird about her, or like, was that even her, or is this a faker, or like somebody
A
impersonating
doppelganger?
her, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Like, clearly just the story that she's telling is not lining up with the footage that she gave them. But so I do think that bit was done well, and given the fact that we know it was all compiled by Mitchell, presumably it makes sense that they're able to like time the reveal like that and like build it in, because he's shaping the story that's being presented. But then it's like Diane and Dan, like, how did we get their footage? Like, did Mitchell go in the house? You know what I mean? Like, Mitchell is not, if he's the one who's now crafting this whole story, he's not giving any additional context to it. And I
Yeah.
know you're like,
you gotta let that shit go.
I know,
you
but
have to.
if that's the story you're telling and this is the medium you're choosing to tell that story, I feel a little bit like it's a little lazy to just be like, anyway, and then we never found out what happened. The end. Like, you're not even giving any like thing from Mitchell at the end to be like, he turned the tapes over to the government. You know what I mean? It's just it's you
not as
chose
much
this
of a
medium.
mic
Nobody
drop
held you at
then.
gunpoint and said you have to do it this way. You chose to do it that way.
Babes, they did it in support of the Tight 90, and I support them on that. And also, I don't know. I just like it gets rid of like the oomph at the end of the movie if it ends with like a whole long title card that says
Got rid of
explains
all
everything.
the oomph at the end of the movie to me when they went, anyway, here's a title card that says we'll never know what happened and we didn't know what
And
happened
we'll
then
never
and
know.
now the movie's over. Like, to me, that really just it's very hard to stick the landing with paranormal movies, and I totally appreciate that, because you have people who are buying in or people who are not buying in. But I just think when you end it with a title card that's like, and we'll never know, it's like, okay, well, you really better lean into that in some way. And it felt to me just like kind of a convenient cop out to not have to answer anything.
Answer for their
I
crimes.
see that, but also doesn't bother me at the same time
Sure.
as much. It leads to fun conversations where you get to speculate. I was having a conversation with someone at one of the myriad of Halloween parties I went to, and like, you know, it depends on what you like. The person I was talking to was saying they love it when they leave it open-ended, so it haunts your dreams, trying to figure out what the fuck actually happened. And then it's like similar to thing when you don't actually see the beast or the monster, so you can imagine what it is. Like,
and it's scarier that way.
Yeah, I think that second one, not seeing the beast, is more effective. I like that more. I like to know what happened as well, but when I don't, it doesn't ruin it for me. So, but I understand the frustration for sure. We'll see what Origins does. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see if it gives us anything.
I think it's one of those things where obviously this is all compiled by Mitchell because he's the only person left and he's the one who presented the narrative that we're seeing. He can't frame it from the beginning without revealing the end. So some of the like narrative that you would expect in a film like this has been purposely sacrificed for a reveal. And I think if the reveal is so well done, a lot of the time you're willing to forgive that it doesn't necessarily make sense how information was presented, or that they are like purposely misleading you. I just think it's like I said earlier, like it's gonna hit different and be successful to different levels for different audience members.
Totally.
And for me, it just felt like if Mitchell has gone through the effort of compiling this footage, and then he's just like, anyway, I'll see ya. It just like lets the wind out of my sails right at the end of the movie. And when that's the energy that I'm leaving the movie with, now I'm feeling like a little annoyed and disappointed when maybe I was really enjoying the film before that point.
Chelsea doesn't like when movies edge her.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't
I get
that,
you
know what I mean? It just
I get you. We got it. It just
She wants a big one at the end of a movie, you know?
Well, yes, who doesn't? But
here, Chelsea, I'll give you this. It's obvious that the demons will provide the footage if they so want. They created Ghost Sarah to drop those tapes in the first place. So who's to say they didn't pick up the camera and leave it outside the front door so Mitchell would be able to find it? You know what I mean?
So
like
Mitchell
they
would
obviously
come to the house.
tell our story so that more people will hear about the haunted Abaddon Hotel and come looking.
They hungry.
We want
But anyway,
more.
Let's get into our segments because there's so much to discuss. Tell me your gay thoughts. How could this movie be gayer?
Well, Sydney was really right that Tony and Mac in the field, very Twilight in the Meadow scene.
Yeah, I will get you on that. I'm annoyed that you said that the director was like, oh yeah, they just have having money problems. I really thought that there was like a blood sacrifice or some fucking shit, and so they had to go to the meadow to be like, I guess we're gonna kill all these people or something.
Appropriately contemplative.
Yeah.
Instead,
but
it's like they flee to the meadow to be like, I guess we're poor. Like, didn't you know that you were poor beforehand?
But then
I was like, are they going to go to jail?
Leaving.
It's like John Taffer shows up and they have to tell John Taffer Bar Rescue that they're $125,000 in debt.
Bad news bears. No, I feel that too. I feel that too. I also just feel bad for Sarah. Just this isn't a gay thought, but like maybe she should have been gay so then she wouldn't have been with Alex, so she could have never been in this situation.
Hard to be the only girl in a group.
Yeah, been there. It is hard.
And when your boyfriend's friends are like sexualizing you, like filming you in your undies and zooming in on your titties and blah blah blah.
Yeah, she's also like she was good at being like a natural actress in this too. I watched some of the casting videos and she is like the best at acting out of all of them. Like it seemed like an actual normal thing from her, and everyone else was like, I am reading the script now. Not to say that they're bad actors, they ended up doing a good job, but
yeah, and like she is weird at many points in the like documentary interview footage, but you can both in the beginning be like, well, she's been through a trauma, and then at the end be like, well, she's a fucking ghost, so
she's a fucking dead ghost, so
why she's being a little weird.
Yeah,
there are lots of possible explanations here.
There,
but not only is she a dead ghost, she's a malevolent ghost.
I know.
Whoa.
I wish that at least Tony and Mac could have died together in each other's arms, but no. Too bad.
But at least they're in the same house together.
Yeah, I hope that they still get to be ghosties. We don't really get to see ghosty them too much because no one dares go down into the basement. And that's where Tony died, right? Tony died down there? And it was Mac died up top.
I don't know.
I don't fucking know. It gets a little confusing. Can't really see what's going on.
I think they looked a little similar too. Like when I was looking at them side by side, I would be like, "That's Tony and that's Mac." But whenever I was just seeing,
alike.
But when I didn't know them that well, it was easy to confuse both of them and be like,
Mac
"That's Tony," and be like, "No, that's
Mac's a redhead."
Okay. You're right. I'm wrong.
I've never seen a redhead in this movie. When you're like, he has red hair, I'm like, what are you talking about?
I think he has like, he's like strawberry blonde, gingery blonde.
They all have brown hair.
I just saw them in profile a lot of the time, and I was like, who's who?
Tony looks like one of the guys in Fire Island, and so he looks way different than the other guy for me. I don't know. I did watch it twice in one day.
So
yeah, Tony's hot, so there you go. Mac didn't really do it for me, but he had beautiful hair.
I liked Mac.
I don't know which one.
Couldn't tell you what Tony's face looked like from the front.
He had big eyes. Whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, they're gay. It's true. That leads us to where would Matthew Lillard fit into this film?
He could easily be one of the spooky people. He could be the clown. He could be the skull guy. He could have been Andrew Tully, proprietor.
He could have been one of the
photographer.
People. Maybe he's Mitchell, and that's why we never see him, because it would be a dead giveaway that he's an important character.
I would love him to be the photographer who goes in, breaks in, and takes those pictures, because it's just like that guy was such a weirdo, like in his interview, and I'm like, Natty would do a great job. Dressed up exactly how he is in Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Okay. Dumb bitch.
Again, it's one of those ones where it's like, can you really blame them if they're being possessed by the house? But if we're willing to say that Paul wasn't possessed until he got by the ghost in his room, then I think he's the dumb bitch. Because otherwise, Alex is a dumb bitch, but if we're willing to say that he was possessed before the film even started, you know what I mean? Before we saw anything about him, he was already under the house's sway because he already did the location scouting before he ever brought any of them there, then like, is he the dumb bitch or is he being possessed?
Or is he just a victim?
I don't think that Paul's the dumb bitch because he was trying to tell them the whole time that something was wrong. So that's a smart bitch. And they just wouldn't. He was just being lit by all of his friends. I know he's obnoxious, but I wouldn't nominate him for dumb bitch.
I am willing to stand by that nomination because his previous reputation led him to being so untrustworthy. It's not that they were all just like, whatever, I don't want to believe Paul. It's that Paul has like disappeared on them in the past, and he's been such a little dig, and he's like, you know, he kind of has a nice rapport sometimes with Sarah, and then other times he's like being gross to Sarah and to Melissa ad nauseum. So I'm willing to let that nomination stand because it's his own fault that he wasn't trustworthy, maybe. But I don't know that he needs to win. I'm okay to not let him win.
Yeah, I don't vote for him, but I'm down if that's one of our
do
noms.
shit in this hotel.
Yeah, if more people in the town knew about all of everything that went on there, why were they not volunteering more information?
It was the cops because they covered up the whole thing in the first place.
I'm actually very on board with that because if we believe, well, we don't believe Sarah's story anyway. But when she was like, I walked out the door and the police were already arriving and they just let me go and they didn't ask any questions, like, yeah, that is not nice, good,
bad.
Yeah, if she's one of the people putting this house on, obviously, you know, maybe the chaos of the moment makes things tricky. But if there were a haunted house, the site of many murders in the past, and I knew people were squatting in it, and putting on a new haunted house there, I maybe would send the police by to be like, what are you doing? So, something to consider.
It's always the cops, man.
It's always the caps. It's always the caps. That works for me. Okay. Are we ready for knives out of fives?
Sure. While I've had much to say about it, this movie was generally pretty positively regarded, and I looked that up before I finished the movie just because I was like starting to compile my notes as I was watching. And I was surprised to see how well regarded it was. And maybe that was like part of my bias as well. Like maybe if I had seen that people hated this movie, then I would have been like more open. But it is so well regarded that maybe my expectations were higher because on IMDb it has 6.4 out of 10, which is not amazing, but still pretty good. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, it has 75% fresh from critics and 72% fresh from audiences. Although now that I look at it again, from critics, 75% fresh, that's 12 reviews. So that's not like that many necessarily. But that means, you know, 9 of those people thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first, I guess. I don't know, there are flaws to this movie. It's not perfect, but I think it's just such a fucking blast. I think it's so fun. I think it's well done. That's what I go to found footage for. I go to it to have a good fucking time. You know what I mean? I'm not like they're usually not like prestige in that way, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm going into it with my expectations. I mean, maybe that's not good to not have the same expectations for every type of movie, but I don't know. I this gave me exactly what the fuck I wanted. It's not perfect by any means. I have a lot of questions. They left us all hanging on a lot of stuff. I was really fucking annoyed with the Alex thing this time around and being like, what's the secret? Like that I didn't even notice last time because I had supplements. But yeah, like that is frustrating, but it did lead me to be more excited for the sequels, and so I'm seeing that as a positive still. But I'm not gonna give this 5 stars or anything like that. I'm gonna give it like a 4.4. It's a blast. I had a really good time. And I would totally watch this again. This would be a really fun one to watch on a big screen with a big group of people, I think, because it'll grab you. It'll give you little spooks and scares.
I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. I had a really good time watching this movie. The jump scares still got me. that clown will haunt my nightmares because
that
it
clown.
is truly what they did with the clown was a masterpiece. Just like how they set it up,
Seriously.
how they did everything. Like it's so good. I do think this is a movie that would be fun to watch in a group. Like I
Yeah.
think group setting would bump it up to like a 4.55, but like just sitting at 8 a.m. with me and 3 dogs and a cup of coffee, I still got spooked.
I also was drinking my coffee while watching this. Ah,
Listen,
it's a
sometimes you gotta
beautiful
prepare to
morning.
shit yourself, you know?
So funny.
The
That's where to start
double
the
shit
day.
yourself situation.
Of
Exactly.
course. Primed and ready.
Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I should have watched it at 8 a.m. with a coffee in hand.
There you go,
course.
Chelsea.
But
No, this was always going to be one that would piss you off. I saw that coming a mile away.
I mean, this type of movie isn't necessarily going to piss me off, but like this specific movie, I just think,
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell Monica's tired of me saying it, but I just don't think that they stuck the landing at the end. And I see why they did it the way that they did it, and I don't have like an obvious solution to suggest of how they could have done it in a way that would have satisfied me. Maybe if I spent a little more time thinking about it, I could come up with something. But it's one of those movies where like it feels so promising and I want to workshop it, and that's why I get frustrated a lot of the time. Again, I think the weak ending really is the majority of the problem for me, because while I wasn't scared, I did like the way the rest of the movie was put together. I think they did a good job of justifying like, why do we have this footage and why is what's on here? Why were we able to capture so much of it and share it with you when it comes to like found footage and the way that it's presented? That's why it makes me so mad about the end, because it felt like they did such a good job with the rest of it, and then instead of working for the ending, they just went like, anyway, I'm done making the movie now. But I am very willing to see the rest of the trilogy out. I am curious, especially if there's like a lot more to the lore in the other ones. I don't know that I'm gonna like them any better, because it might be one of those things where it's like they give you more lore and it's like, well, I wish you hadn't actually, because what I was imagining
get worse and worse for sure, but maybe more answers.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna give it like this is like a positive 3 knives out of 5. Like perfectly watchable, enjoyable, not like special to me necessarily, but I didn't feel like I was like wasting my time. I'm not mad that I watched it. I'm just like mad that they didn't like see it all the way through.
Here's my pitch for you.
Okay.
They have the thing where they all die or whatever. I don't really remember exactly what happens. And then you see Ghost Sarah, and she comes and she picks up the camera again, and she walks downstairs through all the things. You see the ghosts, blah, blah, blah. She walks outside. She puts the camera on the porch and she closes the door. The end.
She walks down the camera to the post office down the street. Yeah.
To Mitchell.
She goes back to the hotel where Mitchell was staying with Dan and Diane, and is like, "Hey, can you leave this for the film crew in room 12?"
That would have worked.
And then she disappears in a puff of smoke, and it's security camera from the hotel lobby. Mm-hmm. Just kidding.
Perfect. There you go.
Anyway.
Yeah, no. I'm glad we did this one. It's fun. It's fun. But we'll see.
Because Halloween never ends.
Halloween's never ending. It's never ending so much that we're even doing another movie next week that's also scary. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it?
Another scary movie.
Another scary movie on this A Horror Movie Podcast. The surprises never stop with Spooky Tuesday. My God.
You're such givers. Okay. Guys, next week we're doing a film that Monica has called prestigious. I didn't say it maybe exactly like that, but it was insinuated.
It's a very serious film, very well written.
This movie is a masterpiece.
Parts of it are.
And that movie of prestige, an Oscar-worthy movie, is 2007 The Mist. Not to be confused with The Fog. Totally different.
Not to be confused. Very
Really don't
different. The
confuse it.
Fog is fun, and The Mist is the
Soul-sucking.
ride that takes you towards sadness. Oh, Stephen King.
Oh, we
You
love
sick
Stephen
bitch.
King. I can't wait to talk about this one.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be so good.
Well, I'm really excited for that one. But we have to decide what our poll question is. What should it be? Should it be how should they have ended it where Chelsea would have liked it?
What are the
And then-
options that you're gonna give them?
I don't know. You have to come
Maybe
up
that's
with
the
some of them.
open-ended question.
The
of, like,
open-ended
what did you
question,
think
yeah.
of the ending?
There you go.
Did they pull it off? Or I
Right
guess
in
that
an
could be the
ending.
poll. Did they stick the landing? Yes or no?
And then we could ask people like, how would you have liked this movie to be?
What would you
like,
have done differently?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that works. Beautiful. Okay, cool. Well, we just finished Halloween. We're in the afterglow as we discussed. We're feeling a little vulnerable though because the big day has passed. So it's a really good time for you to give us a 5-star review to just make us feel a little bit more comfortable, and just
Please
be like,
reassure
it's
us.
okay. Reassure us you're sticking around all year long. We would love that. So 5-star review, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, either way, it works great. And why not follow us on social media? We're at spooky_Tuesday on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. By the way, we're doing video episodes on YouTube now every week, probably.
You can see
Unless
when
something
Monica got
happens.
scared in this episode.
Yeah, you can see what actually scared me. Some very joyous happy birthday balloons. I really don't understand what that was, and I'm still freaked out about it.
You
I
can see
don't
the-
understand what it was.
my menagerie of animals that are just in frame at all times.
Yeah, there
Oh,
was
yeah.
a little puppy that popped its head out of Sydney's sweatshirt, the neck
Oh,
of her
yeah.
sweatshirt at one point. So you're
Also-
gonna want to see that because it's pretty cute.
Also, Pickle the cat was like thinking about climbing up your chimney for about half the episode, and I
He
was
was.
watching in rapt attention. Like, will he or won't he go up
Sometimes
the
he
chimney,
will.
reverse Santa Claus? So you can have some of that action too. Follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube. But we're also on Tumblr and Facebook at Spooky Tuesday Pod, and that's it.
And that's all. Nowhere
That's
else.
all. That's
That's
all. But thank you for listening. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, spookies.
Since the night of the tragedy, where have you been, Sarah?
I've been staying with family mostly.
Have you been coping okay?
I'm in a better place now.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamara, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.